Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and we are back for more of Spooktober. This was meant to be Wednesday's video. Today, we are looking at what is perhaps one of the most well known studies the government has actually ever done into UFOs. Because the government itself has actually done several. And with it seemingly have come back up as they are still issuing programs to do the studying of this level, I figured it'd be a good time to go back and at go over this particular program. And what we are looking at is Project Blue Book. As I said, perhaps one of the best known um, studies by the government into UFOs. Yeah, it's crazy. We have so many sightings. It says it was the code name for a systematic study of unidentified flying objects, UFOs, by the U.S. Air Force from March 52 to its termination December 17, 1969. However, I think it means 1947 because here's the years that they actually did the studies. So yeah, 47 to 69 instead of 52 to 69. But anyway, the project, headquartered at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio, was initially directed by a Captain Edward J. Ruppelt and followed projects of a similar nature, such as Project Sign, which was in 1947, and Project Grudge in 1949. Perhaps they did combine the two. Perhaps this was 52 to 69. However, like I said, they've had several. Project Sign, Project Grudge. Blue Book was, again, decade and a half, almost 2 decades. Perhaps one of the most popular such projects. Project Blue Book had two goals, to namely to define the UFOs, determine if they were UFOs were a threat to national security, and scientifically analyze UFO related data. And essentially, yeah, they went around, collected, analyzed, and filed the reports. And as a result of the Condon report, that it that concluded that the study of UFOs was unlikely to yield major scientific discoveries, and there was a review by the report by the National Academy of Sciences. It would be terminated in 1969. The Air Force summarizes it as so. No UFO reported, investigated, or evaluated by the Air Force has ever an indication was ever an indication of threat to our national security. There was no evidence submitted to or discovered by the Air Force that sightings categorized as unidentified represented technological developments or principles beyond the range of modern scientific knowledge, and there was no evidence indicating the sightings categorized as unidentified were extraterrestrial vehicles. Now, that being said, they are still, as I mentioned before, still doing projects to uncover these sightings and mark them down as what they may or may not believe they are. And you may know such things. ATIP is perhaps the most well-known recent one. Project Blue Book, though, was a huge project, a huge program that did these kind of same things. It did the studies. And yeah, by the time Project Blue Book ended, it had collected 12,618 UFO reports and concluded that most of them were misidentifications, clouds, stars, or conventional aircraft. The number of the reports could be explained by flights of formerly secret reconnaissance planes, like the U-2 and the A-12. However, 700 reports were classified as 701 reports were classified as unexplained, even after stringent analysis. The UFO reports were archived and available under the Freedom of Information Act, but names and other personal information of all witnesses have been redacted. And for that, I actually do have the list here of the year, how many total sightings they took down, and how many they deemed to be unidentified. And it's interesting because 122 identified, or 122 total sightings marked, 12 are listed as unidentified. So that leaves 110 that they are like, it was this. 1948, 156, 7 marked as unidentified. So 149 that they were able to kind of shoo away on this, and this. 49, you have 186, 22. 1950, 210, 27. 1951, 169 sightings, 22 unexplained. And then this is interesting. 1952, 1,501 sightings, 303 unidentified. There's only 3 years where they have sightings in the thousands. That's 1952, 1957, and 1966. Shoot, most of the years don't even come close. I think the only one that does is 1967 at 937 sightings. So, yeah. Now, what's interesting about 1952? There was a UFO incident over Washington, D.C. So, this was a big event. From July the 12th through July the 29th, 1952, a series of UFO sightings were reported in Washington, D.C., and later became known as the Washington Flap, the Washington National Airport sightings, or the invasion of Washington. The most publicized sightings took place in consecutive weekends, July the 19th through the 20th, and July the 26th through the 27th. UFO historian Curtis Peebles called the incident the climax of the 1952 UFO flap. Never before or after did Project Blue Book and the Air Force undergo such a tidal wave of UFO reports. So, yeah, as I explained, um, there's only 3 years they broke the 1,000 mark. But that 1952 was the big one. And it's the only year to have over 100 total unidentified sightings. Even in the years that had over 1,000 as total sightings as well, only 1957 they had 1,006 total sightings. They said only 14 of them were unexplained. In 1966, 1,112 sightings, only 32 were unexplained. Hell, even the following year, 1967, when they had almost 1,000, 937 total sightings, they said 19 were unexplained. But that 1952 anomaly, 1,500 total sightings recorded. 303 they could not explain. And as I said, that year we have the Washington, D.C. flap, where several UFOs are sighted over Washington, D.C. This is huge. So, yeah, there's a lot that's just interesting circling around that 1952 year. Now, to go further, here's the Black Vault. If you don't know, it does more of the mysterious stuff, the UFOs and stuff, but it has the actual sightings that were listed as unidentified and what they recorded. So, yeah. 47. The first sighting from July 3rd, 1947. Harborside, Maine. 2:30 p.m. Witness astronomer John Coe of South Brooksville, Maine, watched 10 to 15 seconds while 10 very light objects and 2 dark forms to their left moved like a swarm of bees to the northwest. A loud roar was heard. Next entry is July the 4th, 1947. Over Emmett, Idaho, 8:17 p.m. Witnesses: United Airlines Captain E.J. Smith, First Officer Ralph Stevens, Stewardess Marty Morrow. They watched for 12 to 15 minutes while four objects with flat bottoms and rough tops moved at varying speeds, with one high and to the right of the others. So yeah, I mean, just to give you an example of how these entries are listed. And remember, these are the entries they list as unidentified. The Air Force and Project Blue Book listed as unidentified. Let me make that clear. The next entry, the third entry, July the 6th, 1947. Fairfield, Suisun Air Base in California. Daytime. Witnesses: Army Air Forces Captain and Mrs. James Burniston. They watched for 1 minute while one object having no wings or tail rode from side to side 3 times and then flew away very fast to the southeast. So yeah, these are the kinds of sightings we are talking about. And again, to point this out, 1947, remember, this is also the year you have the Roswell crash. The famous crash at Roswell. And you also have the Kenneth Arnold sightings, in which from which the phrase "flying saucers" would be coined. So, two huge cases in themselves in the first year that all these sightings start. 1947, I'm trying to see. '49, 50, 51, 52. There we go. That's what I wanted to see. The first entry they have from 1952 that is supposed to be unidentified. February the 11th, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 3 a.m. Witnesses: Captain G.P. Arns and Major R.J. Gedson were flying a Beech AT-2 or AT-11 trainer. One yellow-orange comet-shaped object pulsed flame for 1 to 2 seconds of a minute straight and level flight. And then the next entry they have is February 23rd. Over North Korea, 11:15 p.m. Witness: Captain B-29 Navigator. One bluish cylinder, 3 times long as it is wide, with a tail and rapid pulsations. Came in high and fast, made several turns, and leveled out under the B-29, which was evading mild anti-aircraft fire. 45-second sighting. The next entry, March the 20th, Centerville, Maryland, 10:42 p.m. Witnesses: a World War I, World War II veteran, A.D. Hutchison and son. One dull orange-yellow saucer-shaped light flew straight and level very fast for 30 seconds. March the 23rd, 1952. Yakima, Washington, 6:56 and 7 p.m. Witnesses: pilot and radar operator of the F-94 jet interceptor. On either occasion, a red fireball increased in brightness and then faded over a 45-second span. Stationary both times. And then they've got note. I don't know if the Project Blue Book status report number 7, May 31st, 1952, says target was also tracked by ground radar at 78 knots, or 90 miles an hour. I don't know if that Project Blue Book status report is connected through the note or if it's separate. March the 24th, 1952, 60 miles west of Point Conception, California, or Point Concepcion. 8:45 a.m. Witnesses: a B-29 navigator and radar operator. One target tracked for 20 to 30 seconds at an estimated 3,000 miles per hour. Talk about booking it. March the 29th, 1952, 20 miles north of Misawa Air Force Base, Japan, 11:20 a.m. Witness: Brigham, pilot of AT-6 trainer. One small, very thin, shiny metallic disc flew alongside the AT-6, then made a pass at an F-84 jet fighter. Flipped on its edge, fluttered 20 degrees from the F-84's fuselage, and then flipped in the slipstream, all in 10 seconds. So it's like, what the hell? April the 4th, 1952, Duncanville, Texas, 7:30 p.m. Witnesses: two radar operators of the 147th AC&W Squadron. One object was tracked for 1 minute by radar at an estimated 2,160 miles per hour. So we've got already two in 1952 of the unidentifieds that are seen as objects on radar going well into the thousands of miles per hour. April the 5th, 1952, Phoenix, Arizona, 10:40 a.m. Witnesses Mr. and Mrs. L.G. Ryan, R.L. Stokes, D. Shook. All one large, dull gray, circular object, followed by two more, flew straight and level at high speed. April the 5th, 1952, Miami, Florida, 9:15 p.m. Witnesses L.E. Vanderkar and 9-year-old son. Four dark circular objects with mostly fuzzy edges crossed the face of the moon. Each was half the apparent diameter of the moon. They also have a similar sighting. I don't know if that just means a similar sighting, same date, because it just says 2:59 p.m. witness H.L. Russell. Each was half the apparent diameter of the moon, which is fucking huge. Huge. Our moon, I think they said, is roughly 1/4 the size of Earth. So your diameter is the distance across. Wow. And if they're half the diameter, the radius, I think. Fuck. These things are huge. And they cited 4 of them. April 6, 1952 in Temple, Texas. 2:59 p.m. I think it's supposed to be p.m. 50 to 75 gray-white discs changed position within formation continually, tilted in unison every 12 to 15 seconds during a 3.8 minute sighting. Interesting. And then the next one, April the 12th, 1952, North Bay, Ontario, Canada, 9:30 p.m. Witnesses the Royal Canadian Air Force Warrant Officer E.H. Russell, Flight Sergeant R. McCrae. One round amber object flew fast, stopped, reversed direction, climbed away at a 30-degree angle during a 2-minute observation. So it goes. Huh. Interesting. April 14th, 1952. La Crosse, Wisconsin. 2:35 p.m. The witness, unidentified CAL airline pilot. Several light-colored objects flew in a V formation. No further details in the file. Next one they've got, April the 14th, same day, 1952, but this one in Memphis, Tennessee, 6:34 p.m. Witnesses, U.S. Navy pilots, Lieutenant J.G. Blackie, Lieutenant J.G. O'Neill, one inverted bowl, 3 foot long, or inches long, 1 inch high. Anyway, I can't remember which is inch, which is foot, 1 or 2 dashes, but vertical slots flew fast, straight and level, 100 yards from observer's aircraft for 45 to 60 seconds. Probably feet. So it's probably 3 foot long, 1 foot high. Because inches would still be kind of hard to see. So 3 foot long, which is 1 yard, or for anybody that goes by the metric, 1 meter approximately. So yeah, it's about 1 meter in length. 0.33 meters in height. Approximately. While the yard and the meter are not exact, they're pretty freaking close. Though, of course, over long distances, you get off by quite a bit. But anyway, yeah, I wanted to present some of these to you as far as sightings and the entries into Project Blue Book. Do they have the Washington, D.C. sightings? Bethesda, Maryland. They have a few over Japan. Quite a few in April. Going through May. When was the Washington, D.C. flap? July. So we're almost there. Annapolis, Maryland. I think that's when the first one was, July the 12th. Yeah, 12th. So, we have Annapolis, Maryland, 3:30 p.m. Insurance company president William Washburn. Four large elliptical shaped objects were seen to fly very fast, stop, turn 90 degrees, and fly away in 7 to 8 seconds. July the 14th, in Norfolk, Virginia. It's a little further away. Uh, bu- 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 bu. When will the next unexplained one be in the DC area? Interesting. They list the Annapolis one first. I don't see any more immediately over the DC area that would connect to the flap, as far as they have listing that they're unexplained. A lot of Pennsylvania's, though. Pennsylvania sightings there. I saw quite a few. Pottstown, July 23rd. Also, July 23rd, Altoona, both Pennsylvania, 8:40 a.m., 12:50 p.m. The first one in Pottstown, 8:40 a.m. You have two-man crews of three U.S. Air Force F-94 jet interceptors. One large silver object shaped like a long pear with two or three squares beneath it flew at 150 to 180 kts, something a second. But anyway, it is equivalent to 170 to 210 miles per hour. While a smaller object, delta-shaped and swept back, flew around it at 1,000 to 1,500 kts, equivalent to 1,150 to 1,700 miles per hour, seen by the crews for 1 to 4 minutes. The one in Altoona, 2:50 p.m., witnesses two-man crews of two U.S. Air Force F-94 jet interceptors at 35 to 4,600 feet altitude. 1,000 feet, sorry. 35 to 46 feet would be crazy. 35 to 46,000 feet altitude. Three cylindrical objects in a vertical stack formation flew at an altitude of 50 to 80,000 feet, seen for 20 minutes. Interesting. There's Washington, D.C. July 26th, 1952, Washington, D.C., 8 p.m. Until after midnight, witnesses were radio operators at several airports, airline pilots. Many unidentified blips are tracked by radar all over Washington area at varying speeds. Pilots spot unidentified lights. On the same date, at Andrews Air Force Base in Maryland, continuation of the extensive sightings and radar tracking reports reported throughout Washington, D.C. area all night long. Yeah, Andrews Air Force Base is not far from D.C. So, yeah, interesting. And then there's July the 29th, Langley Air Force Base in Virginia. I don't think Langley's that far from DC, if I remember right. Yeah, to the 29th. So this is still part of the same flat, more than likely. Virginia, 2:30 p.m. U.S. Air Force Captain D.G. Moore of Military Air Traffic Control System. One undescribed object flew at an estimated 2,600 miles per hour below 5,000 feet altitude toward the airbase for about 2 minutes. So something flying extraordinarily fast. It's not up that high at all. And it's just they track it 2 minutes. I wish we had more information on it, but 20 minutes later, Langley Air Force Base. Same date. Witnesses, Mr. Moore, Gilfillan Electronics representative, W. Hyope. One radar target track moving away, stopped for 2 minutes. Again, moved again very, very fast. The whole incident was 4 minutes. Any others on the 29th, the last day of the flap? Nope. Okay. But yeah, anyway. Interesting. Especially in that last weekend. You have numerous sightings they could not explain. Interesting. Well, anyway, yeah. With this information, we can see how unusual many of the events were. But that covers the 1952 flap as listed in Project Blue Book. As I say, it's often cited as one of the most interesting reports the United States would make in regards to trying to find out about UFOs. It would be led by a number of men. Captain Ruppelt, you would have the Robertson panel in July of 1952 after a buildup of hundreds of sightings over the previous few months. A series of radar detections coincident with visual sightings were observed near the National Airport in Washington, D.C. So, yeah. These sightings led the CIA to establish a panel of scientists headed by H.P. Robertson, a physicist at the California Institute of Technology, which included various physicists, meteorologists, and engineers, and one astronomer, one J. Allen Hynek. Another name you'll often see when dealing with UFOs. The Robertson panel first met on January the 14th, 1953. Yeah, a lot of Hynek's interest in UFOs as a subject comes from his time working with Project Blue Book. And it would just drive him to be interested in it for the rest of his life. Anyway, you would have the Captain Charles Hardin era, the Captain George Gregory era, Major Robert Friend era, the Major Quintanilla era, Hector Quintanilla. Congressional hearings in 1966. The Condon Committee in the mid-1960s. And then the end. But yeah. But yeah, found no threats. Nothing as being interesting technologically. Now, there has been no evidence submitted to or discovered by the Air Force that sightings categorized as unidentified represent technological developments or principles beyond the range of present-day scientific knowledge. So again, nothing better than our own technology, even though we can't catch up with or know what they're doing. You know. No UFO reported, investigated, or evaluated by the Air Force has ever given any indication of threat to our national security. And there has been no evidence indicating the sightings categorized as unidentified are extraterrestrial vehicles. Even though we don't know what they might be, which, I mean, that's fair. That's fair. You don't know for certain they're extraterrestrial vehicles. But there's a good chance they are. Anyway, well, this has already been a long episode, but I wanted to kind of go over a little bit with you one of the more interesting studies on UFOs in American history. But as always, think or educate thyself. I couldn't remember what the thing was. I couldn't even see it. I was trying to remember. Think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. I'll be putting my links and sources in the description box below the video. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then.